So how many of you like soup? I love soup on a nice cold day. Sometimes I even like it in the summer because soup is fun to make. Soup takes a lot of ingredients. You stir and you stir and you watch it boil and you watch it simmer and it smells so good. Well, a fun story is stone soup. And I'm sure some of you have even heard this before. But we are going to read this story and we're going to see maybe what it teaches us, maybe what we think of at the end, and then we're going to do a little activity to kind of use our brains to maybe make some stone soup. All right, so let's get started. Let's read Stone Soup by Anne McGovern. If I can open the pages. A young man was walking. He walked and he walked and he walked all night and he walked all day. He was tired and he was hungry. At last he came to a big house. "What a fine house," he said. "There will be plenty of food in there for me." He knocked on the door. A little old lady opened it. "Good lady," said the young man, "I'm very hungry. Can you give me something to eat?" "I have nothing to give you," said the old lady. "I have nothing in the house. I have nothing in the garden." And she began to close the door. "Stop," said the young man. "If you will not give me something to eat, will you at least give me a stone?" A stone. "A stone," said the little old lady. "What will you do with a stone? You can't eat a stone." "Ah," said the young man, "I can make soup from a stone." Now the little old lady had never heard of that. Make soup from a stone? Fancy that. "There are stones in the road," said the little old lady. The young man picked up a round gray stone. "This stone will make a wonderful soup," he said. "Now get me a pot." The little old lady got a pot. "Fill the pot with water and put it on the fire," the young man said. The little old lady did this as she was told, and soon the water was bubbling in the pot. The young man put the round gray stone into the pot. "Now we will wait for the stone to cook into soup," he said. The pot bubbled and bubbled. After a while, the little old lady said, "This soup is cooking fast." "It's cooking fast now," said the hungry young man, "but it would cook faster with some onions." So the little old lady went to the garden to get some yellow onions. Into the pot went the yellow onions with the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the old lady. "Ugh, fancy that." The pot bubbled and bubbled. After a while, the little old lady said, "This soup smells good." "It smells good now," said the hungry young man, "but it would smell better with some carrots." So the little old lady went back to her garden and pulled up some carrots, and she pulled up as many as she could carry. Into the pot went the long, thin carrots with the yellow onions and the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." The pot bubbled and bubbled. After a while, the little old lady said, "This soup tastes good." "It tastes good now," said the hungry young man, "but it would taste better with beef bones." So the little old lady went to get some juicy beef bones. Into the pot went the juicy beef bones and the long thin carrots and the yellow onions and the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." The pot bubbled and bubbled. After a while, the little old lady said, "This soup is fit for a prince." "Ah, it's fit for a prince now," said the hungry young man, "but it would be better fit for a king with a bit of pepper and a handful of salt." So the little old lady got the pepper and the salt, and into the pot went the bit of pepper and the handful of salt and the juicy beef bones and the long thin carrots and the yellow onions and the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." The pot bubbled and bubbled, and after a while the little old lady said, "This soup is too thin." "It's too thin now," said the hungry young man, "but it would be nice and thick with some butter and barley." So the little old lady went to get butter and barley. Into the pot went the butter and barley with the bit of pepper and the handful of salt and the juicy beef bones and the long thin carrots and the yellow onions and the round gray stone. Soup from a stone, said the little old lady. Fancy that. The pot bubbled and bubbled, and after a while the little old lady tasted the soup again. That's good soup, she said. Yes, said the hungry young man. This soup is fit for a king, and now we will eat it. Stop, said the little old lady. This soup is indeed fit for a king. Now I will set a table fit for a king. So she took out her best tablecloth and her best dishes. Then the little old lady and the hungry young man ate all of the soup made with the butter and barley, and the bit of pepper, and the handful of salt, and the juicy beef bones, and the long thin carrots, and the yellow onions, and the round gray stone. Soup from a stone, said the little old lady. Fancy that. Now I must be on my way, said the young man. He took the stone out of the pot and put it into his pocket. Why are you taking the stone, said the little old lady. Well, said the young man, the stone is not cooked enough. I will have to cook it some more tomorrow. And the young man said goodbye. He walked on down the road. He walked and he walked. What a fine supper I will have tomorrow, he said to himself. Soup from a stone. Fancy that. So look at that. Did they really make soup from a stone? I think there was a little trickery going on, because when he knocked on the door and he said, I'm hungry, can I have some food? What did she say? She said no. She said she didn't have anything in her garden. She said she didn't have anything in her house. She had no food for him. And when he said, oh, but I can make soup from a stone, she goes, oh, okay. And every single time he was like, well, it would taste better with carrots. She went to her garden and got carrots. And it would taste better with onions. Well, guess what? She went to the garden and got onions. And it would taste better with beef broth bones. And it would taste better with salt and pepper. All these things she said she didn't have, all of a sudden she did. So was it the stone that was making the soup? Or was the boy tricking the old woman? So look at that. Is it great to trick somebody? Not really, but she wasn't exactly the nicest old woman. She saw a boy that was hungry and needed something, and she wasn't going to help him. So I'm not saying he was right. He shouldn't trick anybody. But they both kind of got what they wanted in the end, so I guess it was okay. He got his meal, and she got amazing stone soup. So we'll be back in a few minutes. We're going to actually try and make some stone soup. This is going to take some imagination, some creativity, and some just general good cooking skills, and we'll see what happens. I wonder if it'll taste as good as the soup in the story. So we will be back in a few minutes, and we'll get some materials ready. And like I said, you can either do this in two ways. You can do it by using your imagination, or if you actually have ingredients, even better. All right, so we'll see you in a few minutes.